If we talk about the fundamental nature of our reality and we liken it to summiting a mountain, that reaching the summit of the mountain is to really realize our fundamental nature, to realize the timeless awareness that is at the basis of everything, then we want to know someone who can support us in getting to the top of that mountain as easily as possible. So this is very important. And rather than just saying, well, for example, if we wanted to climb Mount Everest or K2, we wouldn't go to those mountains and try to do that on our own. No one would do that. Not even a totally insane person would do that, because there's no way to accomplish the goal. It's just absolutely impossible. So many of these suggestions are just an extreme view that no teacher is needed, and they've been adopted for one reason or another. They're an entire oversimplification of the wisdom that is at the basis of everything. And when adopted, both the teachers and the students end up just circumambulating the base of the mountain their entire life. This is almost always the case. There's really no clear idea of what's at the summit, let alone the vantage that can be seen from the summit. So, then there are different kinds of guides that can actually get to the summit. Now, some guides, it's a long and arduous journey, and there's lots of preparation, and it takes so many years to prepare that you may never get there. And then, there are all kinds of modifications of that. But then there are the guides who can get you to the summit without you climbing the mountain. All of a sudden you're at the summit. So this is the approach of the direct teaching and the direct teacher, in which nothing need be done, where the instruction is so unerring and clear without even knowing how it came about. The all-encompassing pure view of awareness, the balanced view, that vantage, comes about effortlessly. The certainty of that dawns in one's being. So you see, it's just like with your friend. He studied engineering in order to learn engineering. He would have never said, oh, I don't need a teacher to learn computer engineering. I know I can do it on my own. No teacher is needed, you see. It's just, we can see, of course, why these extreme views have been adopted, because there's so much offered and so little that ever comes about from it. And this is just very clear. And so now we're in a time when many of these institutions are completely being deconstructed or falling apart. And why is that so? It's so simply due to the law of impermanence. No matter what appears, it's governed by impermanence. No matter how strong any kind of institution, tradition, sect, culture may be, the law of impermanence applies to everything, Babylon fell, Rome fell, it all disappears. So there's nothing whatsoever that appears that is permanent. No matter what appears, it's lacking in an independent nature. It's completely indescribable in its appearance, in that it has no independent nature, and at the same time it's vivid, distinct, and clear without being anything. And so that's one aspect of it. And the other is that without awareness it would not be. So inseparable from all appearances is awareness. Without awareness, no appearance would be. So these are the only basic understandings that are necessary in terms of contemplation. And then, in a very simple way, it's said that awareness is indescribable. In other words, it cannot be characterized by words. It cannot be arrived at through metaphoric approximation, and it can't be demonstrated. in any way. It can't be said, this is what awareness is. So it's indescribable in that sense. And then it is also completely wide open and spacious. So it isn't located anywhere. It doesn't have an address. It's not located here or anywhere else. It's a vast expanse that cannot be located anywhere, yet it is everywhere. And also, in addition to it being indescribable and completely wide open and spacious, it is naturally present. It's obviously naturally present. Without awareness, we would not know that we are. And so this is amazing. Everything that is experienced about the world is due to awareness. Awareness is the flawless experiencer. Awareness is the flawless knower. Awareness is the flawless doer of everything, no matter what it is. And so we can say not only that it's indescribable and completely wide open and spacious and naturally present, but it's also indivisible. In its flawlessness, it is the epitome expression of oneness. It's entirely indivisible. And rather than there being awareness with a lot of separate appearances within it, it's a single, indivisible or non-dual expanse. And so this is very simple. It's very straightforward. Also, another thing that can be said about awareness is that it is a wholly positive, beneficial expanse. And how can that be said? Well, it's wholly positive and an entirely beneficial expanse. It can be said that it's wholly positive in that whatever appears within it has never been anything else. And that sublime knowing that whatever appears within it has never been anything other than awareness is wisdom. So what that means in a practical sense is everything that appears is an appearance of wisdom. Everything that appears is a self-appearance of wisdom awareness. Every sound that is heard is a self-sound of wisdom awareness. So this is very simple and very, very straightforward. And in a practical way, how we see that in ourselves is that once we're introduced to awareness, then we can just enjoy that awareness while the certainty of it dawns. We can rest as awareness. We can hear teachings and certainty dawns within us, indwelling confidence that we really are awareness. And then in a practical way, what we see within ourselves is that all of these thoughts and emotions that seemed so problematic at one time, in that the good ones we could never hold on to and the bad ones we could never get rid of. So in that way, both are problematic, both the positive and the negative. We see that no matter what they are, they've never been an obstacle of any kind. They're completely pure, originally pure, wide open and timelessly free. Nothing has ever been made into anything within awareness. Awareness has never been stuck anywhere. So within our own being, we see that all of these things that we'd attributed causes and results to, that in just resting as awareness, more and more we can find neither cause or result. Awareness is known to be the sole cause and the sole result, the sole cause and the sole effect. And this cannot really be pondered or contemplated with words. And so the instruction down through the ages has been to rest imperturbably without seeking anything, to rest imperturbably as awareness without describing anything, to rest uninterruptedly as awareness without distraction by descriptions. All the descriptions, whatever they are, have their sole source and origin in, of, as, and through awareness. And when awareness is maintained in the simple way of resting as awareness, then it's seen more and more that all of these appearances actually are awareness, that awareness isn't separate from the appearance. So it isn't like a cat watching a mouse, awareness watching a point of view, the all-encompassing pure view of awareness watching a point of view within it. It isn't that at all. It's awareness, the flawless knower, as the point of view that's appearing. So this is the simple way to consider it, to contemplate it, so to speak. That within the all-encompassing pure view of awareness, appearances of every kind, which we'll just simply call points of view, appear as self-appearances, as self-viewpoints of that all-encompassing pure view, never having been separate from it ever, forever flawless, forever empty, forever stainless, like infinite sky. So you see, when we begin to see within the practical experience of our own being that all of these appearances that we considered to be problematic, that they've always been timelessly free, that they've never been wrapped up anywhere, then we can see that that awareness really is wholly positive. It's wholly positive, and that every one of its appearances, no matter what they are, is a wisdom appearance. It's a wholly positive appearance. Even if it's been described as good or evil or positive and negative, beyond all these empty descriptions that are lacking in an independent nature, there is wisdom. So it's a choice of continuing to describe, continuing to perpetuate stories, including stories about awareness, or getting to know wisdom awareness, that's the basis and the sole source of all these descriptions. So that's the very simple choice. And to even ask the question, well, who's choosing? That's going off on some kind of descriptive track of trying to make something out of something that can't be had anything made of it. Because the chooser and the non-chooser are not two, the doer and the non-doer are not two. So to go off into these extremist lines of inquiry never leads anywhere, as we can see. So if it led somewhere, then many would be somewhere by now. Please come in, welcome. There's some seats in the back. Mm-hmm. I like your makeup. We have a little joke between us. What happened to the tiger? Oh. The tiger of awareness. Now, when a person throws a ball, a dog chases the ball. But when a person throws the ball, the tiger looks for who's throwing the ball. The tiger could care less about the ball. It wants to ravage some flesh. It wants to go right to the source of things. Now, the question, does awareness have an agenda? Is awareness some kind of spontaneous happening of nothingness? Well, nowadays those are lines of thinking that some people employ, but those lines are just thinking. You know, they may be a different kind of point of view than the usual points of view, but they're still an anomaly of point of view. They're what might be called nihilism, that everything comes from nothing and that it leads to nothing, that it's just spontaneously appearing like a mushroom sprouting in cow dung, and that it all comes from nothing and it leads to nothing. So, you know, usually what goes along with this line of thinking is, whatever I do, it's all right. It matters not. I can act any way I want to act because everything is just like the mushroom sprouting in cow dung. So, you know, this is just another extreme point of view. It's really all that it is. And when we look to this matter of the fundamental nature of reality and really discovering the fundamental nature of our own being, which can easily be described as awareness, as it's the root of everything, so we wouldn't even know there is a fundamental nature of being without awareness. It's the substance, the sole source of everything without being a substance at all. It pervades everything, just like light pervades the moon, or light-filled space is filled with light. You know, they're completely inseparable. So we have so many examples throughout history of people who have really abided as the sublime nature of being. And wherever there have been people who have abided as the sublime nature of being, there are incredible powers present, powers that are completely beyond causation. And so when these powers come about, it's due to wisdom awareness. They don't come from anywhere else. They're not conjured up within a human being. You know, if they were, then they could be genetically passed along. So they're naturally present in awareness, these powers. And a simple way to describe them is wisdom, body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities. So usually when we're living our life based on all our points of view, then all we see are these points of view, and they're all related to us, these points of view. So we see ourselves as being someone who has a personal identity, that we're the manager and controller of our life, and that it's up to us to take care of this person and to defend, guard, and protect it against any kind of intrusion from anyone else or anything else. And then our speech and our mind and the qualities and activities of our life are all focused on this ordinary way of thinking about ourselves, this limited way of thinking about ourselves that is very exhausting, because we're always trying to defend, protect, and guard. Either that, or we're exhaustingly trying to change the nature of what appears in our mind. So our positive and negative thoughts and emotions, we're trying to get more positive ones and get rid of the negative ones. And so this is a very, very limited way of looking at ourselves. Our emotional life then is reactive. It's reactive to our thoughts and emotions that are appearing within us, and it's reactive to other people's thoughts and emotions. So, you know, this is a very rigorous life. It's kind of like being in the Army boot camp your entire life. So this isn't a pleasant way to spend life, in other words. But also within us is the wisdom identity that's already naturally present. And this wisdom identity, its body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities are naturally expansive and always inclusive of everyone and everything. It doesn't have an impulse to think about the needs of a personal identity and to spend all the thinking and expend all the thinking, emotions, qualities and activities of life, the speaking, being all about getting things for that one. These just naturally resolve in resting as awareness. They're already naturally present, but they're dormant, they're unseen until there's familiarity with the wisdom awareness at the basis that sees right through everything, that sees all appearances as appearances of wisdom. And with that, gaining familiarity with wisdom awareness just through short moments repeated many times until it becomes spontaneous, these tremendous wisdom powers of profound benefit automatically come about without doing anything to learn them, or they can't be contrived in any way. They're unfeigned. They're completely without pretense. They're indivisible from the basic space of everything just as it is. All appearances just as they are. So, it's very important not to have skewed ideas, not to have erroneous ideas about what awareness is. Of course, we can have any idea we want, but these ideas that, everything happens spontaneously, all there is spontaneous consciousness, everything comes from nothing, leads to nothing, I can do whatever I want, whether I'm a teacher or a student, it doesn't matter what I do, this is the way of the sage, and all these things that are said today. Well, that is one way of talking about something, but it's definitely not wisdom awareness. As long as there's that kind of thinking, there will be no wisdom. As long as there's that kind of extreme view, there will never be the powers of profound benefit present. The powers of profound benefit are inseparable from the basic space of awareness, from the basic space of wisdom awareness. The basic space of everything just as it is the sole location of profound powers and benefit. And so, these can't be conjured up in any way. There's no way to trick them into being. They already are. And it's simply in gaining familiarity with wisdom awareness in a very natural way that they become obvious. Until then, for just as long as there's thinking and doing, there will be no wisdom. When it's realized that nothing need be done, just the relaxed ease of everything that is so clear just as it is, that's the only reality of everything. We look at everything, and where is there not ease? Nowhere. Everything is completely at ease. The sky is at ease. The compass of space that includes the cosmos, all planets and stars, that's completely at ease. Everything within that compass of space is completely at ease. The planets and stars whirling and twirling and burning brightly, and all other appearances within the compass of space, all completely at ease. Each movement of the body's completely at ease, and that it's never been independent from complete ease. It's never had a nature independent of ease. And so this is the correct understanding. There's no way to refute or prove wisdom. It simply is. Everything that appears within the all-encompassing expanse of the pure view of awareness, the appearance, whatever it is like a mirage. So just like all the planets and stars are within the compass of space, so too all appearances within awareness are like the planets and stars within the compass of space, or like the dream images that appear within the state of sleep. They're included and contained therein. They've never been anything other than that. All appearances of whatever kind are like a mirage or a hologram, in that they've never had an independent nature. And in the same way that we wouldn't look for anything to provide us satisfaction in a hologram or a mirage, so too there's nothing to look for in terms of satisfaction or fulfillment in trying to establish an independent identity for appearances. No appearance, no matter what it is, no matter how sublime it is, can ever offer us anything. And no matter what the mundane appearance is, it can't offer us anything either. And in that, we find the complete enchanted, ecstatic spontaneity of true freedom, of unfeigned freedom, where we sing and dance without pretense of any kind, you know. Everything is just a spontaneous and free-flowing and mutually interpenetrating. So anything that we like to do when we're living our life based on points of view, it'll be just that much more impassioned and gaining familiarity with awareness. We don't know what true passion is until we gain familiarity with awareness. So rather than awareness being some kind of flat-line state where we just go into neutral, it isn't that at all. It's the expanse of joy and bliss that was never contained anywhere. All the mirage-like appearances are like a line drawn in water, or the flight path of a bird in the sky. They're all free in their own place. They're their own undoing. There's absolutely nothing that needs to be done about them. There never has been anything that needs to be done about them. There isn't anything that needs to be done now, and there never will be anything that needs to be done, because they're all simultaneously inherent in awareness and spontaneously, timelessly free. So no matter what appears, its departure is guaranteed, so to speak, and its appearance and its departure are both timelessly free points of view as well. So there's just nothing to do whatsoever about anything. Just be at ease, enjoy the ease of your own being, in which nothing need be done. Know that there's never been anything that needs to be done, but yet at the same time nothing needs to change. So however you're living your life, whatever the circumstances of your life are, they're the perfect circumstances, the perfect appearances for the realization of awareness. Whatever your appearances are, they're inseparable from awareness. The appearance of you, what you call you, is a point of view, inseparable from awareness. The appearance of everything else is a point of view, inseparable from awareness. There's nothing keeping anyone away from awareness. There's no personal entity that can somehow do anything to keep anyone away from awareness. All these are just points of view that don't even need to be thought about or considered in any way. In the complete enjoyment body of the wisdom awareness that is at the basis, all is known. All that is needs to be known is known clearly and directly. So please don't worry your pretty little heads about all the philosophical assumptions or difficult ways of doing things, or obedience, or whatever it might be. If you want to be obedient, be obedient to the unenforceable. Obedience to the unenforceable. There's the supreme obedience, the ultimate obedience. That's the only obedience there is. Otherwise, there's obedience to trying to sort out all the points of views and rearrange them. And so when we spend our life trying to rearrange the points of view in order to be happy, then it's like trying to put together a 1 trillion piece jigsaw puzzle of the cloudless sky. In other words, nothing will come from it. And the process of it will be exhausting, frustrating, and never lead anywhere. Are there any other questions people would like to ask?
Excuse me, I'm relatively new to these teachings. I was just wondering if you could explain this term timelessly free.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Timelessly free implies that anything that appears has never been not free. So whatever appears, it's never been unfree in any way, no matter what it is. And its timeless freedom is due to the lack of any appearance having an independent nature. So no matter what appears, it has no nature or origin independent of timeless awareness. It's never had any kind of existence in its own right. It has no self-source or origin other than awareness. It can't be shown to be anything in its own right. And in that sense, everything, no matter what it is that appears, is timelessly free. Whatever appears, it's never been contained anywhere. Timeless awareness has never been made into anything, yet it's that by which all is known. For example, you know you are due to awareness. Without awareness, you wouldn't know anything. Awareness is the only knower of you or anything you experience. No matter what it is, a thought, an emotion, a sensation, people, places, and things, all rooted in awareness. When familiarity with awareness is gained, then this becomes obvious, so you don't really even have to think about it. Enjoy awareness, and it just becomes all too obvious that awareness is timeless and that within it all its appearances are timelessly free and indivisible from it. Something more about that?
And that's great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak about the term not to? Not to, like, if I'm here and I'm here because I'm here, that in some point, in some way, I'm not really here because I'm comprised of space, and you're saying it's not two. You're not saying it's one.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying it's not two.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes for all kinds of things, that they are not two. They are not the extremes, but they are not one. They are not two.
Not to is a very specific way of talking about something. So the word, for example, the word non-dual, what it really means is not to. That's what it means, not to. And so when we're living our life based on all our points of view, we have everything split up into opposites, and this is called dualist perception. we see everything is divided. So we see cause and we see effect, or we see the uncaused and the unborn, and we see that as opposed to what is born and what is caused. And so when we do so, it leads to erroneous thinking and erroneous teachings, because we switch from feeling that we were born and caused to saying, oh, now I'm unborn and I'm uncaused. But you see, this is just more intellectual pondering and meandering, when in fact what is caused and what are uncaused are not two, and what is born and what isn't born are not two. And that can never be arrived at by intellectually speculating about it. It's only in the decisive experience of awareness as the fundamental nature of reality that you really know what these things mean. And until then, it's just a lot of talk. And the only way to really gain familiarity with awareness is to gain familiarity with awareness. In 25 years of experience, what I've seen is that there are two primary ways that people swiftly and surely gain familiarity with awareness. Wisdom awareness, with the wisdom powers of profound benefit. And that is, one, to have conviction dawn. In other words, to have certainty about the nature of reality dawn upon hearing teachings, direct and unerring teachings. And the other is to rest as awareness for short moments repeated many times in the direct encounter with appearances, in a totally uncontrived way, until that becomes automatic and spontaneous. Then all these things that we read about in books and that we hear described endlessly, then we know, as the flawless knower who is knowing everything we know. Yeah. What could be easier? Now, another way of looking at how this certainty dawns with conviction within beings is that, one, suddenly the sublime knowing that is already the only essence of who one is, it appears spontaneously, and it encompasses everything with its sublime knowing. So it suddenly understands that everything, no matter what it is, does not have an independent nature. Another way this comes about is to be introduced to awareness by a teacher. So, and usually what happens there is that for many people, they've never known anything about themselves other than points of view, their points of view and their personal identity. And just upon coming into contact with someone who isn't living that way, it has a profound effect. And so through that meeting, the person is introduced to awareness. Now, this is a simple human matter. We learn who we are by being exposed to the teachings of others. And so we usually learn all of our points of view by being exposed to the teachings of others who teach us about points of view. Then suddenly we meet someone who isn't living as all their points of view, and we go, wow, they're not living as all their points of view, and I'm not either. And so we suddenly realize that within ourselves. This is what it means to be introduced to awareness. It's very simple. Another is that we hear direct teachings and read direct teachings. And so through hearing direct teachings and reading direct teachings, the certainty about who we are dawns within us just through this. And direct teachings are teachings that do not refer back to a personal experience. They do not ever refer back to an author or someone's personal experiences. These teachings are very rare, but yet they are. Like in the Great Freedom Teaching, they are. So these are three ways in which awareness can come about. And the fourth is to rest naturally in a completely uncontrived way, repeatedly, until awareness is automatic, it's spontaneous. It already is. So if there's an attempt to contrive it in any way by saying, oh, I'm going to do these methods and practices and then that's going to lead to awareness, well, the premise of that is that there is someone going somewhere. And so in maintaining awareness in a completely uncontrived way for short moments repeated many times, there's no one going anywhere. There's only awareness, flawless awareness, seeing everything as itself. So this has always been the sure, swift approach.
I've got a question.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm receiving a lot of how to call it, feedback from a particular situation that I'm in, and I'm worried that I'm getting numb or something, because I don't really feel much when I get even quite fiery feedback, and I actually sometimes feel a bit like laughing, and I'm wondering if I am kind of repressing something, or
uh-huh.
or is that even a problem? Is that am I just making a problem out of nothing?
Well, making a problem out of nothing. Well, you know, the equanimity is characteristic of abiding as timeless wisdom. Equanimity, the ability to be equanimous and in all situations without impediment. For example, you know, some people love me and they say a lot of nice things to me and praise me and applaud me and all that, and then other people say all kinds of cruel, nasty, mean things, even write these things to me in letters, so you know. But whatever way it is, well, that's just the way it is, you know. It's all timelessly free. You see, from the summit of a mountain, everything can be seen all around. And all the paths leading to the top can be seen as well. And the paths that come only part way up can be seen too. And it can be seen that they only come part way up. But from any of those paths or from the bottom of the mountain, the summit can't be seen. So if people have never received direct teachings, then they don't see how it could be possible that something could swiftly and surely come about. But this has always been true throughout the ages, that there have been very direct teachings where it is swift and sure, and there isn't all this complicated maneuvering and complicated relationship between people. Now, in this sense, you know, that situation, wow, how amazing. Because at one time you were in that situation, and when you heard things like that, it was very difficult. So then you see within your own being, wow, at one time I would have been a puddle if someone said something like this to me. But here I am, you know, no need to react or respond in any way. I just go on about my business, whatever it is. Whatever appears, just let it be. Whatever happens, whatever happens. It just is as it is. And so, you know, sometimes when people are accustomed to, we've been around a certain group of people, they're accustomed to seeing us react in a certain way, then that's just what they expect from us. And it's kind of part of the game plan. They want us to be that way because it fits in with the rest of the game. So when we're suddenly not that way, oh wow, then maybe they really need to up the ante. So we can't get her going with these things, so let's try something even better. Now, none of this is conscious. It just is all part of the magical display. But in the meantime, you just go on about your business timelessly free, okay? You see, now you know that no matter what situation you're in, you're okay. And too, you can be in any situation, and that's okay. But, these kinds of misunderstandings or whatever they are it just indicates that there isn't a balanced view, that's all. Wherever there's a balanced view, there is complete equanimity and no need for petty jealousies. There's plenty of love, so that's just the way it is. All there is love. Wisdom awareness is equal to love. So there's never anything that needs to be reshaped or refined or forced into anything in particular in order for that love to be. Love isn't located anywhere. It's not located in any particular place that has the only information there is about love. And so, when we realize this, it's just so amazing. It's so incredibly amazing, because most of us learn things about love that are very conditioned, that we can only have love in certain kinds of situations. Some people are loving, some people aren't, and we never work ourselves out of that trap. But when in the immediacy of our own being we begin to see that all our own appearances are free in their own place, that they could never harm us in any way, then we for the first time know what unconditioned love is. We know what unconditional love is. And when we know that in ourselves, then it automatically is so for everyone else. You see this in yourself. This appearance, this incredible appearance of unconditional love that's always been there. And then suddenly you don't need anything from anyone else. No matter who you're looking at or what they're saying to you, they're sky-like. And, they're just another expression of love, no matter what they're saying. And they may not understand, and that's sad. How worthy of compassion. Yeah. You see, the circumstance you're in is very fortunate because you can stay or you can go, and either way you're fine. Wherever you are, you're okay. And you know that now. What could be more beautiful? I never tell people to go or stay anywhere. Yes?
If somebody gave you words that someone had written, or a tape of someone speaking about what you speak about, would you be able to tell if it was unerring what they were saying?
I certainly would, and so would you.
I'm not sure. That's all.
We always know. No matter who we are, we always know. We already know who we are, even if it's completely dormant in us. We already know that and can never be convinced otherwise. So no matter what kind of thing we hear, whether it's airing or on-airing, we know whether it's airing or on-airing, and we know which parts of it are airing. So, we can listen to a Dharma talk or some other kind of talk. And in it, there may be lots of things that we hear that, oh, wow, you know, it's sublime, it's just right on. And then suddenly we'll hear something like, you'll never be able to reach the fundamental nature of reality for lifetimes, many lifetimes, or even eons. And we hear that, and suddenly we know that these things are all points of view. So just be sensitive to yourself when you listen to something, and you'll know either there's just wide open space or there's that glitch where suddenly you know that something is being said that is a glitch.
In my experience of like what you're saying, for instance, listening to someone's Dharma talks, I could listen to the same talk at maybe 1 year, and then the next year, and then the next year, and there may have been glitches at one point, and then the next time the same thing is said and there's no glitch. Or maybe I'm just making that up, I don't know. But that's what I remember to be the case.
It's important not to smoke too much Dharma. Well, you know what I'm saying. You know, wherever it is implied that there's someone flawed and who needs to be fixed, or someone who's been conditioned and they need to be unconditioned, then it is an unerring. So that's a simple way to look at it. Wherever it's implied that there is somebody who's in the way when there's never been anybody in the way, wherever it's implied that there's somebody in the way, first of all, it's a teaching of duality. It's not a teaching of non-duality. And wherever it's implied that only certain beings can realize who they are, then it's also a teaching of duality. It's not a teaching of non-duality. Everyone, no matter who they are, is aware, and that can't be taken away from anyone. It's their birthright. Now, there's a difference between a glitch and having certainty dawn about something. You know, like sometimes people who read the Great Freedom written texts, when they read the text, they go, wow, you know, this is amazing. I really get this. I get this as myself, and I get it right away. And other people at the other extreme may say, wow, I don't really understand anything in this. But then a month later, they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, you know, some of the things I didn't understand, all of a sudden I do, and I don't even know how I came to understand them. So this is different than a glitch or an error. Yeah.
Candace, when you say that you like 25 years of experience, is it because you just when you realized who you'd always been, it was just that sudden and instantaneous that it could be like a place and time that you could mark this happened then? Because that feels like it wouldn't. I don't know if I would describe it that way. Like I don't know if I would say that it had been like it wouldn't be something that happened at a certain point and then it changed. Like it would just be something that would come. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be before and after, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about it, it sounds like it is. And I'm just wondering if that's.
Actually, I stated 4 different ways in which it comes to be known by people. So the way in which it came to be known in this case was just one of those ways, but it can be whatever it is. It doesn't need to have to be any one thing. Yeah. And for me, it was it was very sudden in a sense, in that I, first of all, did not know anything about non-dual teachings. I just got into a lot of inner turmoil, and in the hopelessness of that turmoil, it suddenly dawned within me that all of that turmoil had the same underlying basis, that none of the turmoil had an independent nature at all. And so rather than get involved in all the turmoil and the descriptions and stories about it, I simply rested as that great relief that's the basis of everything. And after 10 days of that, then suddenly it dawned so clearly in me who I'd always been. But it was just that. It was, I've always been this. It's not like before and after. I've always been this. And so is everyone else. It's not anything that's earth-shaking. And for me, because I'd never had any of these ideas about it being so difficult, or even that it was anything, because when I was resting as the great relief, I wasn't headed for a goal. It was just the relief that was naturally present in every perception. I didn't know there was a goal, so to speak. And indeed there isn't. There isn't a destination. The only freedom is the freedom in the immediacy of every appearance. So this is, if you think there's a destination, then that'll just be a lifetime spent in making sandcastles that are forever washed away.
Hi. Could you say that before the turmoil you have passed, you were not ready for the awakening? I mean, is there anything like not being ready for the awakening?
No.
So that is just an opinion about that you have upon yourself, that you're not ready for that?
Uh-huh. A point of view. Aren't you always ready to relax? Just to relax your body and mind completely, yeah. Well, you know, it's a lot of times it's taken to be a big deal. You know, like there's going to be some kind of explosive state, and it's going to be blissful and fantastic, and I won't have any thoughts, and I won't have any emotions. This is just all nonsense, you know. It really is no big deal. It's realizing the true nature of phenomena as lacking in an independent nature. That's all it is. And in that there is sublime well-being that cannot be affected in any way by any appearance whatsoever. But this is already the case. It's the case in every perception. It's the case in every appearance. So everyone's ready, no matter what. It's just like, you know, to look inward, and all there is light-filled sky, and to look outward and all there is light-filled sky. What could be easier or nicer than that? And just to look at everyone and have there be only love, where no one anywhere is a stranger, nothing looked at as strange or anything to defend or protect or guard against. So easy, completely easygoing and carefree, yet what is naturally present are profound powers beyond imagining. One more question back there.
Does it help to think of this awareness as something which I had before I was born, and then I'll continue to have after I die? It's like 4 days ago I didn't know that the Gunja River existed, but it was here, and I just suddenly became aware of it.
Yeah.
So it was here before I got here, and it'll still be here when I go.
Absolutely.
And so this awareness is not mine. It's something that exists before and after myself. Does that help? To sort of, otherwise we try and hang on to it as something that belongs to us. It doesn't.
There's no us for it to hang on
No.
to. Yeah, or for the us to hang on to either. So it's timeless awareness. It's called timeless awareness because it has no sequence of time. It's never been stuck in any sequence of time or even fallen to a sequence of time or been made into a sequence of time like birth, life, and death. It just simply is. The awareness of being born, for example, what is it that's aware of being born? You know, so it's clear that these things we think about as unborn and born, that they're not two. They've never been separate. But most of us go through our entire life fearing death because we feel that we've been born and will die, that we're something solid, stable, and finite. But once it's first understood that we have no independent nature, in other words, what we call us or I or anything else, that has no independent nature. Its only nature is awareness.
So awareness is an energy that is running the whole cosmos. Is this the same energy that's running everything? Is this how you describe it, as an energy?
Awareness is synonymous with energy, wisdom, and love. Yeah.
So it's just like jumping in the river and going with the river.
That's exactly right. Enjoy the ride.
We went whitewater rafting the other day and it was a good ride. Yeah.
It was a good ride.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, great.
Easy as that.
Easy as that.
Uh,
But parts were scary.
Pardon?
Part of it was scary though.
Oh, you went through some of the rapids. Yeah. It's important to relax in the rapids.